Hello, Monetization Nation. For sales reps that invest in social media, 64% hit their team quota, compared to only 49% of reps hitting their team quota that don't use social media. And the source for that was superoffice.com. In today's episode, we're going to dive into the tectonic shift of social selling with Tim Hughes and explore 3 common social selling objections and mistakes. We're also going to talk about how COVID-19 has impacted the way we will do business going forward. Tim Hughes is recognized by many as the world's leading pioneer of social selling, and he's currently ranked number 1 by Analytica as the most influential social selling person in the world. He's the co-founder and CEO of DLA Ignite and co-author of the best-selling books Social Selling: Techniques to Influence Buyers and Changemakers, and the book Smarketing: How to Achieve Competitive Advantage Through Blended Sales and Marketing. Tectonic shifts are constantly transforming the earth and business, causing destruction and huge growth opportunities. I'm Nathan William, the host of Monetization Nation, where we learn how to leverage business tectonic shifts to transform monetization. All right, can we start off by having you share something that you are super passionate about?
Yes, I live in the digital world and I see myself as quite advanced digitally, but I actually consume my music using physical means. So I actually have about 2,000 vinyl records, which is in the room next door. I could have got one for you and shown it to you, but I actually shoot videos that I post on LinkedIn every week now with actually vinyl records basically behind it. So. But that's my passion, yeah.
So of all your 2,000 vinyl records, what is your favorite right now?
I'm a big rock person. So it would always be something like Deep Purple, Made in Japan, something like that. I kind of grew up on that. Thin Lizzy, Live and Dangerous, Thin Lizzy, Bad Reputation, all those. Led Zeppelin, was it 50 years? Yesterday was the anniversary of Physical Graffiti. Big Led Zeppelin fan. So yeah, that's my passion, and I'm always playing. I got loads of CDs as well, but I've inherited my father's 78 records as well. So I've got 878 as well, and a 78 record player to play them on.
Do you have a room with the soundproofing on the walls and
I don't. The room next door here is my music room, but all it is basically just where the vinyl records are stored, and the 78s. It's actually the 78s are actually in a glass cabinet, which either I think my grandfather or my great grandfather made. So it's a bit of a my father isn't dead. He's very luckily alive, but he's in a nursing home, and my mother has executed his will. So she rang me one day and said, "There's 878s up here. Come and get them."
Yeah.
I'm just glad that we've got concrete floors to store it on.
Can you share with us your journey of becoming possibly the world's leading expert on social selling?
The world's leading expert. Come on.
Definitely.
So back in 2014, I was involved in a big sales transformation at a US software company. We were an on-premise company. We were used to 18-month sales cycles. And I was in a meeting. We recruited somebody in from the competition, and he said, "We always close on the first meeting." And I just looked at him and said, "Repeat that." He said, "I close on the first meeting." I said, "We're in problems." I took him into the sales VP and I got him to repeat it. And we said, "Right now, we're going to go through a complete transformation of the way that we sell." Over 2 years, we taught 2,000 salespeople and 2,000 pre-sales people about storytelling, about opening presentations with a story. And interestingly enough, my partner still deals with that software company, and I overheard a presentation from there, and they're still doing it. And actually, it makes such a difference because they're selling something that's boring and complex, and they start off with a story. It really makes this impactful. We can't do this right now, but whiteboarding, and then some very rudimentary using of social, which is mainly, at the time, it was mainly just looking people up. I'm a great believer in the power of the network. If you have a network, things will just turn up, and they do. And a guy called Matt Reynolds basically contacted me over LinkedIn and said, we ended up having a coffee in London. And in the end, I said, why don't we write a book? And within 3 months, we had a book deal, and then the book was out in another 3 months after that. So that was Social Selling Techniques to Influence Buyers and Changemakers, which is now sold 5,500 copies.
Which is really good for a business book.
It's just amazing. And it's just the world's greatest business card. I had an opportunity with a friend and a colleague to set up my own business 4.5 years ago. So we set up DLA Ignite. And what we do is that we transform companies using social. We started off using, I'm explaining you more because this is about technology and technology shifts. We started off, as any startup does, you need to have a minimal viable product. So we started off building the social selling programs, which we now use. But our goal and our vision was always to get businesses to actually use social media strategically. Companies now, they use it tactically. You'll get a VP of sales posting something, and then an email will go around saying, can you like the post? And actually what we do is that we get people to use the social from a strategic perspective. And now we've actually moved outside of sales. So we actually now do business transformation in sales, in marketing, in supply chain, in procurement, in customer service, and in human resources. So what we're able to do is strip out cost and make organizations more efficient. And we're the only company in the world that does this.
So you really do have a strong claim. You are the world's leading social selling expert.
Yeah. There are lots of LinkedIn. There are the people that do social selling. There are lots of people that do LinkedIn training, but they don't do social selling in this way, which is to treat it as a change program. And what we do is we use change management techniques as a method, because the thing about social, or the thing about, if you think about training, we've all been on training courses where we go, that's really interesting. We go back to our desks and we do exactly the same thing. You can't do that with social, because we have to do things differently. So to use social to sell, it's not what you know, it's what you do. Yeah. And therefore, what we have to do is invoke a change, a mindset change, and a habit change in the students, if I can call them that. And that's actually getting people to do the social selling is not difficult, but it's actually about evoking that change. And the change that takes place is that classic people on social will write about their company and their products. We're not interested. Nobody's interested. And what happens with salespeople is we don't like them. We avoid them. And Gartner, the reason why we spend time looking for things online is because we don't want to go to a salesperson because they're the enemy. They're manipulative. But we've actually come up with a program where we use psychology as a way to position yourself on social, so people actually will walk towards you and actually see you as a human and go, that person looks interesting. Now, so I've just been on a call with one of my partners and resellers, and I always use her, Priscilla McKinney. I always use her LinkedIn profile as an example of what good looks like. And I show it to people and they go, oh yeah, that's really interesting. Reading that, she looks like a great person. I'd like to meet her. And I say, yeah, but you meet Priscilla, she'll try and sell you something. They say, I don't care, I just want to meet her. And that is transformation. That's the difference from the way that people are teaching social and the way that they're teaching LinkedIn. It's different from saying where people will talk about their company and their products, which we're not interested in, to actually having someone where they've got a shop window of themselves up 24 hours a day, 365 days a week, where people are going, Priscilla looks interesting. I'm actually going to make contact with her and I want to have a call with her. Just think about, you've got 200 salespeople. You scale that across your business. You've got 200 salespeople that people want to talk to. It's unheard of.
Yeah, that's right. What else would you like to say about your history? And then we'll go into the...
So that's really me up to the current present point, which is that we're not a full service marketing agency. That's just basically an organization that wants to be a jack of all trades and a master of none. What we do is social, and we just focus on that. So we're not interested in going into organizations and sorting out sales compensation or anything like that. There's lots of people that are really good at that. What we do is that we focus totally on whether it's social selling, digital selling, virtual selling, or remote selling. That's what we do, and we're really good at it. I'm biased, but we're the best people in the world for it.
Why don't you start off by defining what is social selling, and then maybe you go to why is it so important? Maybe give some examples around it.
The buying process has changed and was changing pre-COVID. We now have access to mobile phones. We can go online and we can buy whatever we want, and we don't have to go to a salesperson. And that's the problem that salespeople have right now, is that they're still living in this world where they think the buyer has to come to a salesperson to speak to them. So when I was first in sales, to buy something from my company, there weren't things like websites. You had to come to me to buy it. I was in effect a gatekeeper for you to buying that. Now that's not the case. You actually can go online and you can watch the videos, and all the demos are online and all the brochures are online, and you can actually come to a conclusion about what you want to buy. Now, I was aware 5 years ago of somebody that made a $250,000 accountancy software purchase by watching the YouTube videos. They rang up the salesperson and said, I want to buy. And the salesperson said, don't you want a demo? And the person said, no, I just want to buy it. Now, not the best negotiating position, but I was aware of that 5 years ago. I think that's now becoming more of the norm because more people are spending time online and researching. And certainly what's happened with with COVID is that there's been that switch where now people are online because, so I'm in the UK and I'm in lockdown. I can't go out. Well, I'm allowed to have one piece of exercise every day, but we spend our lives online. I'm currently doing some coaching with someone who's actually still at university. So they're 20 years old. And she said something to me the other day, which was like, she just had a delivery of some clothes. And she said, yeah, there's a lot of people talking about the death of the high street. She said, a lot of people are surprised. She said, I'm not. I said, why's that? She said, I don't go to shops. I get everything delivered.
Yeah.
And I think one of the things that's changed is that a lot of us that used to go to shops now do get things delivered. Even my mother, who's 83, she's got 2 wine groups which she runs, and she now runs them over Zoom. And we all went through that, what do we do Zoom, and how do we press mute and all of those things. And we've seen all those mistakes and those things that have come up, but that's changed the way we think, it's changed the way we work, and it's changed the way that we buy. And we need to change the way we sell. Gartner recently said that the sales team need to go to where the buyers are now, not where they used to be.
Yes, definitely. COVID has sure accelerated the things we probably would have got there within the next 5 years, but it forced us to do a lot of things.
I think actually we got, McKinsey saying that we've had 10 years worth of transformation, and I think that's the case. I think it would have taken 10 years to get where we are. I don't have any data, but I feel that there was a tipping point in October of last year. Here in the UK, and in Europe, we had this lockdown 1 in March and April and May and June. And then everybody said, okay, right, well, we're finished. It's great. It's the summer and there's not a problem. And then, of course, what happened, we get into the winter months and we get lockdown 2 in September and October. And the majority of people said, I think we're like this now for a long time. There were a lot of people that were crossing their fingers and saying, once we get into 2021, it will be okay. And of course, within 2 weeks, we've got a couple of problems going on in the US. And then we end up back in lockdown again. And, the vaccine may help. Would you have a meeting with a customer who hadn't been vaccinated? It's an open question, and I don't know what the answer is. Would a customer want to meet a salesperson that haven't been vaccinated? And again, it's open questions because we're in uncharted territory, and we're in uncharted employment law. I put a question out on Facebook the other day because my father is in a nursing home. He's 88. He has dementia and Alzheimer's. The NHS turned up and basically vaccinated all the staff, all the patients, except for one nurse who refused to be vaccinated. And I put a question out, so what should we do? And of course, you get extremes of from fire to it's your choice. And the question is, I don't know what the answer is. I do know that 2 weeks later she got COVID, and so all of these things are happening, and I don't think that anybody has really thought them out. It's changed the way that we buy.
Yeah. Is it going to be required for us to go on a flight or on a cruise or to go to an industry convention, right? Are we going to have to?
I think there's a debate going on here in the UK about vaccination passports. What the government is saying here is we're not a government of enforcing people to have vaccinations. And that's great. But I think what you'll find is that the airplane companies and going to a gig, I'm a big fan of going to gigs, and that's going to require, I'm a big fan of travel, and that's going to require vaccination. But going back to the subject today, it's changed the way we buy. And all of these things have an impact about, are we going to go back to face-to-face meetings? I'm not sure we are.
Or at least not to the same level that we did.
Yes.
In the past, when I've run my consulting firms, I had a philosophy where my philosophy was that I've never closed a big deal without meeting face-to-face with someone, right? And that was my philosophy. And I'd always fly out, and I always would invest in that FaceTime and that relationship. And I interviewed someone recently who took the exact opposite approach. She had almost no local business, and she lived in a small town, and almost 100% of her business was from all around the country. And she never flew out and met any of her clients, and it worked just fine. And she had a great business. And I think maybe I was wrong. And obviously there's a value in face-to-face, but if we leverage technology effectively, we can do it with the video.
I think people are used to it, and we can make relationships and have conversations very quickly with people on social media, and I think we're kind of used to that. If you take my partner's 25-year-old, he was in travel just before COVID struck, so he was just basically laid off, and he got another job. But he was of the COVID era, which is the interview was done online, the first day and the induction was all done online. I think he's only ever been into the office once. And he was actually of the opinion, he said to his mum one day and said, I'm living in London, but I could go and live in Barcelona, couldn't I, and do this job? Well, yes, there's only a 1 hour time difference. So he said, right, I'm off. So he then went to Barcelona and worked out of Barcelona because he had a mate there who had a room in his house. And he's quite right. He could still ring people and do all the things that he needed to do digitally. It doesn't matter where you live, and he's probably going to go and try and doing it. He's got a girlfriend in Washington, DC, and he's going to work UK hours, but live in Washington for a bit.
Yeah. And why not?
Why not?
That's right. And that is a huge tectonic shift that is happening.
It is.
I remember when I started my first business, the thought of having a video conference, and not just having video conferences, but having them free. You can use Meet and all these technologies and talk with anyone over video for no cost. I remember back when I was a child, just to do an international phone call was so expensive. You paid.
Yeah, I remember having a group call facility, and it was so much a minute. You had to dial into these things, and everyone was going, this is costing us money. And now wherever I have a podcast myself, and I've interviewed people in Australia, which is the other side of the world to us. It's at 12,000 miles or something, and you cannot tell. The person could be sitting in the room next to you. There's no, because you must remember the times when there was a satellite delay where you'd interview some. We were interviewing people in Cape Canaveral when the Apollo missions. There was like a 3-second satellite delay, and now it's just perfect. And we got the technology to use, and we can have these meetings like this.
Yeah. I remember the very first time I was interviewed after I'd started my first business 24 years ago. I think it was like an MSNBC interview or something. And there was that delay, and you had to wait for the delay. And I remember feeling so stupid after that interview because I cut off the reporter who who said something and I responded and cut them off. And it's so nice to at least have much smaller delays than we used to have. What are the most common objections that people have about social selling, and how do we overcome those objections?
I think there's a number of objections. One is that there's a belief system that their customers are not on social, and there will be. For example, a decision maker, I'm 55, so a 55-year-old finance director might not be on LinkedIn, but because there will be a decision-making group of 10 people. I'm talking to a company that sell supply chain software, and they tell me there'll be 100 people involved in the sale. So one person might not be, but the other 99 are. And so Microsoft Azure, for example, they actually look for, so on my book, I talk about change makers, and it's a particular type of person, different from a classic sales methodology of someone who may be your sponsor on that. A change maker tends to be in their 30s or 40s. They actually don't care what product is bought. What they're looking for is to get, they're currently the deputy director, or then, they want to get the VP ship. And what they'll do is that they'll look at your products and services from how they're going to get to where they want to go. But what Microsoft Azure do is that they actually look for that person, and they know that if they give them strong content, they will then share that out in their organization. So this is about thinking about selling differently, rather than just saying the person isn't on social, therefore I'm not doing it. Another objection we get is that people say we're doing it already. And what they're doing is that they're doing it tactically. I can see, the thing about social is totally transparent. So I can see everything that's going on in your organization. I can from your LinkedIn profile, it displays your culture, your purpose of your organization. It displays how people value themselves, because it's totally transparent. And what they don't understand is that this is about now. It's not about being on social anymore. It's about digital dominance. And what we do is that we teach people to be completely dominant. So completely, basically putting out the whole of their competition and just taking over in effect, the share of voice. And so therefore, when people are searching for that product and services, you are the only answer. And that can be done through people searching on social, plus people searching through things like Google and Bing and things like that. And that's the difference, is that, we go into organizations and we say, so you're doing social? Yeah, we're really killing it. Well, what's that mean? Well, we have someone in marketing and they put out a post every 2 weeks. Right. And what do you get from that? Well, nothing.
Definitely killing it.
So that's actually a cost to your business, not a profit. And then you say to them, and they say, well, yeah, we need to we think that putting something out every 2 weeks is a great rhythm. You say, okay, so 13 days of those 14 days, you're invisible to your client. Oh, is usually the answer. I say, okay, so you told me that your client is not on social very often, right? Okay, so let's say that they go onto social on a Tuesday, and you putting out a post on a Wednesday. They don't see you. Oh, and this is the thing, is that people think that what they're doing at the moment is adequate, and it's just tactics. The other thing that you see is that people take what they're doing, the messaging they're putting out, and failing. People don't look at ads. People don't read emails. People don't take cold calls. I know it's slightly different in the States, but what we're seeing is that there's a gradual decline. Certainly, cold calling died in Europe back in 2018 when GDPR came out. HubSpot basically said, HubSpot, who sell email marketing systems, actually said that the email marketing now has a 98% failure rate, and they've actually they're stopping sending out emails because they know it doesn't work anymore, and they're biased because they sell them. So what we're seeing is this massive decline in what used to happen in terms of old school sales and marketing, and there has to be some sort of replacement. But what companies do is that they take the messaging that's failing in those platforms and move it onto social. And so you see, for example, there was an article that came out recently, actually from HubSpot, about using social, and it was all about paid media. It's like paid media is nothing to do with social media. You know, paid media is like buying a banner at a sports game and saying that you're a manager of a team. It's nothing to do with it. You know, social is about organic. And it's about people being interested in you and liking you and interacting with you, and you doing the same back. And that's the things that people kind of miss. It's trying to do analog ways in and thinking it's digital.
Thank you so much, Tim, for sharing your stories and knowledge with us today. Here are some of my key takeaways from this episode. Number 1, the majority of our customers these days will be on social media. Number 2, if we think we are doing social already, we may want to examine how we are doing it to make sure we're reaching our ideal customers. Number 3, don't use the same messaging from ads, emails, or cold calls on social media. Social media messaging should be used to form organic relationships with customers. Number 4, consider opening presentations with stories to engage audiences. Number 5, people are not generally super passionate about our companies or brands, but they do care about how we can help them achieve the things that they are most passionate about. Number 6, as we navigate a post-COVID world, we must consider how it will impact businesses and pivot to take advantage of those opportunities. If you enjoyed this interview and want to learn more about Tim, you can find him on LinkedIn or visit his Dia LA Ignite website. And there's a link to both of those on the blog post for this episode. Did you like today's episode? Then please follow these channels to receive free digital monetization content. Number 1, you can get a free monetization assessment of your business or subscribe to the free Monetization e-magazine at monetizationnation.com. Number 2, you can subscribe to the Monetization Nation podcast or YouTube channel. And number 3, please follow Monetization Nation on Instagram and Twitter. How have you seen businesses effectively using social selling? Please join our private Monetization Nation Facebook group and share your insights with other digital monetizers. Thanks for joining us for this episode. I wish you success in achieving your monetization goals. Do you want to become a better digital monetizer? To receive great monetization stories and secrets, please go to monetizationnation.com and join free. And if you liked today's episode, please subscribe to the show and share it.